everybody.
What's going on?
How you doing, T?
Doing okay, man. Doing okay.
Yeah. So our fourth OPP. I'm looking forward to today's guest. We'll introduce him in a few minutes, but just seeing what you've been up to.
Oh man. You know how it goes, like the season, like that. I guess like the peak of it's somewhat over. So just seeing where everyone's at, what's going on. People are starting to surface again, how things went, and figuring out what to do next. Really.
Nice.
How about you? It's funny. I don't even know.
How about me?
Yeah.
We just dropped our Black Friday campaign. So we're starting to see orders coming in. A little bit of a hiccup over here, as you know, Canada Post, our mail service went on strike. So had to change up the strategy a little bit for guaranteed delivery before Christmas. So we're going to definitely push a little bit more heavily on the digital side. So yeah, kind of a good excuse.
For sure.
If things flop, at least we have an excuse to blame it on. When COVID hit, remember we tried a lot of new stuff, and if it didn't work, we just blamed COVID. So
yeah.
So we're gonna go here.
Situation then, hey?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's like there's always like an evolution, right? With all this stuff, we're figuring that out, and then I mean, it kind of lends back to we're talking to some of the OGs here about how it all kind of started, how it's still going, and even though it's like the industry that we know, it's still changing constantly.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. A few little messages about SPAC. I mean, I think we're all getting ready for it. January 22 to 25, 2025 next year. Trade show sold out. We got a little bit of a waiting list for people wanting to get in, so it's going to be a good show. We got a bigger floor space this year. Aisles a little bit wider. Some booths kind of moved up, got a little bit bigger, and we got some more vendors in there. Also, the day before SPAC, the Tuesday, January 21st, there's going to be 2 excursions. I know, TJ, you and I, we always did the golf one. We'll be there again, but we're changing it up. We're going to do Atomic Golf this year, which is just like Top Golf. So I guess the cool thing is you can kind of interact with not just your foursome, so we can roam around there. There's going to be some games, I think Longest Drive, some other games like that. So it should be fun.
Nice, man. And that's just down on the strip, I think, right?
Somewhere there, yeah. A few people went to go take a look at it, make sure it's all good. But yeah, it checked out pretty nice. And then the next excursion is Valley of the Fire. This is kind of, I think, like 20 minutes out in the desert. There's transportation to and from. Photographers are welcome to bring their cameras, stuff like that. So yeah, I think that should be fun too.
Definitely, man. By the way, everyone be together. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Looking at our guest here, he's in the waiting room, but he actually just disappeared. So this is going to be kind of funny. I wonder where he went. Yeah. Hold on here. Yeah, he's like out of here. Oh. I might have to call him just to get in. We might just have to do a little pause here.
Yeah, dude, we'll edit this part out.
Yeah, definitely. He got too excited. He probably got a phone call and then just ducked out.
Yeah. I mean, the intro is fine. I think we just cut it back in. Corey, you're gonna cut him until our intro or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, where'd you go? I knew it. I knew some redneck tried to call you. Just cancel it and then just click the link to come back in. He hung up on me.
Classic.
Yeah. Okay, he's canceling. He'll come back in. Yeah, so we'll cut that and then we'll go right into it.
Nice. I hope he's just got funny-ass stories.
The lighting in this office sucks.
Yeah, it's that overhead light too, man. Kill it.
Hopefully that was it better.
There he is.
Oh, there he is. Okay. All right. So, Corey, you can start recording from here. So sorry about that. We had a little bit of technical difficulty, but you can tell how OPP this guy is, how original he is, just based on him having technical difficulties. Today we got a legend from Texas that we call Tom from Texas, Tom Wenzel.
The man, the legend.
How are y'all?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. So what happened there? You got a phone call from somebody and you couldn't figure out how to use your phone?
No, I don't know. The phone call there, and I sent it to voicemail, and you guys went away.
Oh man, jeez. Are you still using a fax machine these days?
No, I hadn't used a fax in a while, sir. No, but I do have an iPhone, so that's good. It's not a flip phone, so life's good.
Awesome, man. We had to send a piece of mail to get you lined up for this one.
Yeah. That Canadian Postal Service was slow. Took a little while to get here.
Definitely, yeah, exactly. So Tom Wenzel, thanks for joining us. We're excited to have you on. But first, we need to throw out some congratulations. You are now a great grandfather.
Yeah, my granddaughter had a little girl, Addison Kay, last Thursday, and as soon as she hit the ground running, then and all was in order at home, then I came out to the ranch. So that's where I am right now.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Yeah,
that ranch looks sweet. Yeah, we're going to talk about the ranch in a few minutes, but so how can you be so young and you're a great grandfather?
well, my wife is a couple of years my senior, and I guess love at first sight. You know how it goes. So the rest is history.
You animal there. Yeah. Yeah. So you're chilling at the ranch. When I contacted you to see if you're interested in coming onto OPP, I think you said you were hunting.
Yep, we come out every year. The deer seasons come in. We came the first weekend, and then went home for a couple weeks. We got to spend some time at home. So get a kitchen pass, come back out. So now came back out and be back home right before Thanksgiving to cook Thanksgiving dinner for everybody. And then after that,
are you bringing home the food there? You were saying you were grinding something.
we had some, we got a deer the last visit we were here. So in fact, I just cooked some steak fingers for lunch right before we got on here. So life's good.
So you're full. Yeah, you're good to go.
You bet.
Yeah.
Good to go.
Yeah. So you and your family have been in the photography yearbook industry for a long time. You want to maybe kind of start and tell us about that?
Yeah, my grandfather, he was a pioneer in the school photo business. He started back in 1929.
Jeez.
He was out in Oklahoma. He lived out of Davis, Oklahoma, and he had a friend. They went to Turner Falls, and he noticed a man was taking pictures out there and making postcards and offering them to families for purchase. And the postcards back then were pretty popular. People didn't have their picture made that often. And he thought, man, we have a lot of rural schools that might work. And times were tough. So he borrowed a camera and came to a town of Wolf City, Texas, and took some pictures at a rural school. I believe it was Oyster Creek was the name of it. They had 10 or 12 kids. Worked a deal with them where they would pay. He'd take pictures of every student. Then he'd give the school a piece of the profit. And if they didn't have money, he'd take eggs. He'd take some, beef, chicken, anything. He'd barter for pictures. Times were tough back then. And he established that, built it into a business that was quite sizable over the years. And he was a pioneer in the school picture industry as far as the PSPA when it came about. He just made a good name by selling a good quality product at a reasonable price.
There you go. Yeah.
Very, very dependable. He built all his own cameras.
Crazy.
Built all his own printers, and then package printers in the day. He really changed the way the picture business worked in the early days.
Yeah. Wow.
History, man.
Going back to like that first photography shoot. So he charged everyone to do the photo, or did he only charge if they purchased?
He didn't charge anyone. He shot pictures of every student, went home and printed them in his bathtub, came back, and then offered them the next day to take home. And then whatever they wanted to buy, they bought.
Yeah.
And in the early days, I believe he started out with like maybe a 5x7 or two 5x7s and then they expanded it into wallets and things. But back then, people didn't have pictures of the kids, especially in the rural areas where we are.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, even today, our schools in the territory that I had, a lot of them were smaller schools, but when I first started, but they grew, and that helped business. But I had a school, one of them had 35 kids, and they were all from a home, an orphanage, and it's the smallest school district in the state of Texas. And now they're up to 700-800 kids.
Wow.
And so, as the area grows and you grow with it, your business can also expand. And we were very fortunate. That helped without having to make a lot of new calls on new business. The schools you had would grow and expand.
Right.
Yeah, it made you grow with them, made you part of the family. And
That's
it really,
right. Yeah.
really made a difference. Yeah.
So in 1929, he still was able to deliver proofs the next day.
Yeah.
Finished package, finished prints.
Exactly. And speculation, basically, right? They only paid for what they wanted, right? And 100 years later, almost 2025, people still can't get proofs of the next day.
I was just about to say, it's like faster than digital turnaround on proofing. That's incredible out of a bathtub.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. And
well, that's amazing.
There's some amazing things when you come from a man and a family who had to invent what they had.
Yeah.
You couldn't just go and buy it. You can't go to Walmart and buy the software you needed for the digital side of it. You can't go buy, pieces for your cameras. They'd be special ordered. A lot of our equipment, specialized. And so you learn to, one, adapt with what you have. If you have
That's right.
one camera that would work, don't get rid of it. If it quit working, save it for something else. You might find another use somewhere down the way. And we did part from one to another. When digital first came about, we were still shooting film, and they were digitizing for the yearbook and the admin CDs. And you could either scan your film, or we actually made a piggyback camera out of a digital on top of the film that would shoot them both at the same time. A split apart, but had their own independent flashes in it. Enabled us to do that before we went completely digital with our lab.
Wow. And what year do you think that was when you guys did that camera?
That camera is 2001, maybe.
Wow. Yeah, right at the beginning of digital then.
Yeah, we were the first in our area with digital. Kodak had come out with a camera that was quite expensive, and then the first, really the best I ever had with it, once we figured out the Fuji, that S1 was the DSLR format, and it was gave you hope. It was better than the big bulky cameras we had before, and you didn't have to worry about a tripod back then. I mean, we figured out for the speed of things and convenience. I went through the film days, and I was getting burnt out. I don't mind telling you, digital was a breath of fresh air when it came to me, because after doing film for 20 years, it started getting old. There are some good sides to it, and there's also some negative. The good side, I go shoot a school by 11 o'clock. I had to drop the film off at the office, and then I was free the rest of the day. I go off. Life was great. But when you got digital, part of it was easier and part of it was more difficult.
That's right.
It actually I had less free time with digital than I did with film. But, costs were rearranged, advantages either way. But consistency with digital, it helps so much more, because after the third kid, you notice that extension cord laying on the floor behind you or behind them, or you notice something, or light creeping across the gym, things that really helped you in the long run. But it was an entire different world shooting digital than it was with film.
You are you guys still in Wolf City, like where you guys started?
Yep, in Wolf City, Texas, Main Street. I retired 5.5 years ago, but the business still runs there, and I have I helped him for a little bit on the first year or so.
Yep.
And now every once in a while he'll call me. I think it might have worked 3 times this year. And I do that just help him out in the bind and also to see my friends because my customers were like a second family. They were all friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
We didn't lose business. I had very little turnover. The only way you had turnovers if you had a new superintendent and they for some reason had somebody with them. And a lot of times we were still able to get back in, after a year or so, once they realized the area, other schools we did, and how we took care of our customers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, did you ever take them golfing or hunting?
Sure.
There you go. Yeah. Relationships.
20 years ago, I had an annual pheasant hunt. I took 100 customers.
Wow.
And each of them, what it is, they're game birds, and they're set out in the wild, and they are. It's a pretty good hunting experience because you're going to see them, but sometimes people think, well, that's a canned hunt. No, birds are not like deer. Birds can fly and go a long way, and it's just a different game. And everybody had an opportunity for 2 chuckers and 2 pheasants. So there was over 400 different birds. Then we cooked lunch, had a barbecue, and that was a great event. Then we had an annual golf tournament. We did that our company did that probably for 60 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's called the Hookers and Slicers. And it's a tournament when we've done it, and have 65, 70 customers come out, and we provide the golf, we provide the beverage, provide lunch, and we also take pictures of every team, and then we have plaques for the winners, and the winners get to put their photograph of their winning team on the plaque for their memory, and the others still get a product from Huntington School of Services. They get a 9/7 print with their golf buddies. So it's kind of a show your business, show your ability or lack ability to play golf, and have fun, and just meet with other customers and let them meet your staff or your office, because the entire office goes there and helps with the tournament.
We run a golf tournament too, but TJ, we should maybe rethink of renaming ours.
I was thinking about the same thing right now. Some notes here.
Yeah.
Such a good name, man. Yeah.
It's been there for years and years and years, and we do it. There's 2 courses in our county that we've done it at over the years, and it's great. We have a good turnout, and if the weather's bad, everybody still hangs around, and we'll still have lunch and have beverages, and then wait for the rain to quit. And then if the weather's perfect, well, then business as usual. So we always have.
That's awesome. Man. Those plaques probably still hanging in like a lot of people's offices and homes.
The neatest thing is when you go in the office and and you see it, makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Also, they will be in there and they'll say, "Oh man, remember this?" And to it. And it's really pretty. It's a good deal for everybody.
You bet. It makes it worth it. I know what you mean.
Yep.
So talk about drinking. Remember, we had a meeting out here, and we had the boozer cruiser. We had the bus, took everybody around, and then we had the van, the minivan from work. I think you and John Hicks just sat in the van the whole time drinking on the cooler. You guys didn't even want to go on the bus anymore.
No, we were making sure that the ice didn't go bad in the cooler. We would make sure that it wasn't wasted, because when you have the opportunity to be around your friends and you talk about history and your livelihood. In fact, you mentioned John, our film processor back in the day was a Hicks processor. The brother designed that. And we built processors, paper, the dryer for the paper, and it was pretty interesting. Everything built out of things that you'd find in a barn and a hardware store. Nothing was ever really schematically correct like you would think today. It was just put together.
Yeah.
It worked. And
what was your grandpa's like background? Like, was he like an engineer, electrician?
he came from a family where his father left him when I believe he's 16 years old, and he had to go to the fields, and he had to help his mama raise the other brothers and sisters. I think like 7 of them, that he had to give up his education, went out in the fields, and he was a truck farmer. And they went from field to field. He decided he didn't want to live like that. He was able to get a degree and from high school, and went and got a chiropractor's degree.
Really?
He started as a chiropractor, and then he got into photography, and then he liked the photography. So he that's how he started in the photography. But he always had an uncanny ability that he could build things. His mind was way, way, way ahead of its time. And Eastman Kodak used him for, oh my gosh, I don't know how many things that he developed for them that gave him a problem to fix. And he'd build it, and it could work. He built airplanes. He built a boat. He was a very incredible man. I guess the best legacy is he was everything he did. His mind was sharp, but everything around him, he wasn't a real well kept. As far as all his stuff messy, I guess you just say he had the build. He knew where everything was, but it wasn't in an organized state. But I never heard anybody all my life. I never heard not one person say one negative word about him. He built the church in town, and he financed 75% of it. He was a very giving man. He was very unassuming. He's one of those guys. He drove the same old beat up car forever, and his wife would have a new Cadillac, but nobody would ever know. His pants, he wore those old khaki pants with an old shirt that looked like you go fishing in it, and looked like he was the poorest man on the block. But he was definitely far from that.
Wow. Amazing legacy, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He probably drove the old car because he could fix it all the time. So he's probably like, why would I need a new one? I can keep this thing going.
He built a boat. And it looked like the one that you had on Gilligan's Island. And had 2 twin Chrysler motors, and he called it the CK, SEAKAY. And his initials were letter C, letter K, but that's his boat. He'd go down and he'd go fishing for red snapper out of Port Aransas, and he'd go down there and he'd spend a month at a time.
Wow.
And he'd go 40, 50 miles out in this boat, and he would pull it with this Mercury, and this 64, 65 Mercury when I remember him having. And he would, that boat was 4 times as big as that car, and he'd drag that sucker down there, and he made it back every time. I remember dad went with him, and they went fishing, and he had a big old fish hook, rusty hook, got the fish off of it, and fish flopped and hit his arm, and the hook went through his thumb, the palm of his hand. And so Dad thought, well, I guess we're through fishing now. And Granddad grabbed the old pair of dikes, and he whittled at it, clipped that hook off, pulled it out, grabbed the scaliest, nastiest, grungiest wash rag you ever saw in your life, wrapped it around, tied it around his thumb. And my dad said, well, you ready to head in now? He said, why? We're here to fish. We're going fishing. So they kept fishing.
And he kept his thumb.
Yeah, he kept his thumb. He did.
That's incredible, man. Tom, how do you I was gonna say, like, what about you getting into the industry though, and like, how did that all affect you having a grandpa like that?
Well, it made it a little easier on the entry because I didn't have to worry about buying any cameras because we had cameras that
Yeah, I bet.
were home built.
Yep.
He cameras from we originally had black and white, and then they went to black and white and color when color came out. And the reason you did that, so you'd have the color could go immediately to packages to fulfill the orders. The black and white go straight to the yearbook. And most importantly, you didn't have to worry about scratching the film with a burr or something as you're running it through, trying to make contact prints and things like that, at a high rate of speed. And so you could scratch the film and then ruin your packages. Now we used two 200-foot rolls of film, and it looked like a suitcase, and it was black and white on one side and color on the other. And the box had two Wallensack lenses with different apertures because you had different ISOs of the film. And they were fixed focal lenses. It sat on a tripod on casters. There was an arm that swung out to the left side, and it had a light source, a bell is what we called it. And the light source shot across the body. And there was on the other side, there was a window shade that pulled down. It reflected off that, and that gave you your light. And what they did, the camera was like a suitcase, and it had a string, and you would string it to the temple of the person being photographed, and that gave you the distance to make sure it was in focus.
Yeah.
And you could, and then later in life, they put where you could ID. They put an ID port on there where you could ID the camera with the people's names. And they had the whole setup was set up. We called it a rig, and it looked like a little go-kart. And what it was, it had wheels in the back so you could tow it back and forth to your car. And it took a real man to lift it up, put it in the trunk. And
that must have been heavy stuff.
It took a real car to hold it because the cars today, the trunks aren't deep enough, not big enough. But when he built that, you wheel that little card in there. The back end was like a turtle hole. Open it up. All the parts for your camera setup were inside of it.
Wow.
So you could set it up in about 3 minutes. You could be ready to fire, and everything was set up perfectly. He had the power packs that controlled the light source. They were both in there, and he had a regular pack. And then when we went to color, they had to have a booster. And so the way the whole setup worked is the lights were electric. You'd plug it in, and person would sit there on the chair, and I could shoot between 800 and 1,000 kids in the morning by myself, depending on the age. If they're younger, 800. If they're older, back then people paid attention. They looked at the camera, but you could do it with one person. Today, you're lucky. It's a lot slower. You're lucky to get 400, in the same time. But the camera, you'd raise and lower the tripod. We had cards, and what you had when they bought it was prepaid. And so if they had an A package, we lined the kids up in package order. A package held up a board, and then you'd have 3 A's. You might have 5 B's, and 4 C's, and 2 D's, and then the rest were yearbook. Well, the yearbook stood behind. They used to put an X. I didn't like the X, and so I put a happy face because nobody wants to be a X or cast out. So even today, if you see any of my Facebook posts or anything, I always put a happy face next to my post. It's just something. One good feelings make people happy.
There you go. Yeah.
So, and so as far as when you put all the things in that kit, you photographers didn't forget to get anything.
Yeah.
How many times you had a guy forget an umbrella or have a light head problem? And I can say this: after using that rig for over 20 years, till we went to the new Z2 cameras.
Yep.
and we changed. The main reason we changed, I'll go on that in a minute, but I never had a light failure. I never had a bulb burn out on the flash.
Oh.
You know, in modern day light heads, you know, we've replaced them all the time.
Yep.
I never had a power pack blow up until I was at a school one time, and these power packs, some of them were back from the 40s, and they've been 50 years, and they're still working.
Wow.
Now, the problem we started having is some of the insulation on the wires inside was starting to crack and peel.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I was at a job. I had this one teacher. She kept trying to get in my space. You know, I'm doing my job. I love it. Teachers can teach school, but let me shoot pictures. That's what we do.
Yep.
She got over and she started trying to get over and make children look at her and smile. And I'm like, ma'am, I really wish that you would step back and let me do my job, because they're not looking at the camera, they're looking at you.
Yep.
And she goes, well, these are my children and I need them to look at me and just take the picture. Of course, you know me, I'm kind of frustrated, but I did. It was a real rainy, humid day that day. And she's standing next to me, and I fired that camera, and that power pack shorted out. It just so happened to be underneath her dress. Happened to be under her very, very large tent-like dress, around a very, very, very a teacher that liked to probably like to eat and enjoy life a lot. And when that thing blew up underneath her, the whole skirt lifted up like a circus tent and then dropped down. And then all of a sudden the floor became a lake. And I'm like, oh dear God, if this lady electrocutes herself, I'm in trouble. And two, I lost this account.
Yeah.
This principal comes running up, pulls me aside, and I know what's fixing to happen. He tells me, you know, I said, I know. Let me pack my stuff up. I'll get out of here. I'm so sorry. I couldn't control it. It just happened.
She couldn't either.
I don't think you understand. He said, you've got my business for as long as I'm here. Maybe she'll learn to do her job and quit trying to do everybody else's. So nobody was in that event. And I did have a backup power pack in the car. So it was all good. We got the job done. But after that, I did take them into an electric shop to have it looked at, took the crump, and they looked at it and said, schematically, there's no way that this power pack is safe, nor would it function. I didn't have the courage to tell him, you know,
you could use it 50 years. Yeah.
I know for a fact that they've been going for 50 years. And, but the good news is it forced us to go to a different light source, which we could afford then, had the money then.
Yeah.
But the bad news is they had a bunch of those others were probably still good, but afraid to use them. And he would not rewire them for us because he didn't feel they're safe. So we went to the new one. And it worked out good. We went to the Camras Z2s, and that was fantastic. And you could zoom in and your head sizes. We put masks in the camera and big improvements. And that was about as big of improvement as digital was when digital first came, because you could do so much more. And then once the S2s, we used Z2s, we had 46 non-perf that we used for seniors, 35 non-perf for school day, but they were 100-foot rolls. They weren't the 200-foot rolls we used to have. But also at that time, we quit doing the boards for prepay. And the boards used to eat up a lot of film. And so, and film was by the foot. You got charged by the frame, you know, as well as by the foot for developing. And so we did after that went to barcoding, and that's when we went to the Fuji camera, the S5. Our APS-P group, we all met. Fuji came from Japan and met.
Yep,
with
I
our
remember
group.
that.
We were at a SPAC, and they came and specifically came to our APS-P group and focused on what improvements do we expect in the camera and what can they do to help us. And they pretty much built 9 out of 10 things we asked for. We asked for a mask inside. They didn't do that, but they did everything else.
Yeah.
And we had barcode capability, and I used that camera from 2005, I believe, up until I retired.
Wow.
And it was only
not as long as the power packs of 50 years, but you got a good 20 years out of it.
But we used them, and still to this day, it don't give you a 2.1 megapixel picture, but that's all you needed for 8 by 10.
8 by 10, yeah.
Exactly. It was fine. And when a lot of people are going to the larger ones, my office, we were pretty efficient, and computer space was a big deal. And we shot a lot of pictures for a very small. I had 4 employees inside the building, and we'd do $1 million worth of pictures, and we had 40,000 in the fall and another 40,000 in the spring, and plus little leagues, and so we had a lot of heads. And most people, it took more people to work it. I was very fortunate. My employees were never sick. I think Vicky ran my office. I think she had. I think I can count 5 days in 18 years.
Wow.
Charlie, sold my business to Charlie. He missed in 24 years. He only missed 2 days.
Jeez.
And the one day I almost killed him because, we're we don't have any elasticity in the schedule to reschedule. And when you're a CEO like me, I'm not like, Geskus or some of these people that are sending 40 crews out a day. I had me and Charlie, and we may send 2 crews, maybe 3 at the most, but very rarely.
Yeah.
And it was but we'd also go that morning, shoot them. You're talking about proofs. I'd bring them back in the spring, drop the disc off the memory card. They'd download it. I'd go get lunch. And when I came back, the proofs were printed, and I'd drop them off to school that afternoon.
Wow.
Now,
Jeez.
the first printer I ever had was a Xerox 7300, I believe. I think that's the name of it.
That's what you said. Yeah, we're talking before, yeah.
And it took 1 minute to print an envelope with a photo on it. Now, I mean, that's a big deal. Back then, I bought the machine, and the machine was the Noritsu to print digital, and it was $229,000, I think, with the computers and everything. And then it wasn't, 6 months before that, 5 months before that, I bought my house, which was back then was $252,000, which was a lot of money back then in 2001.
Yeah.
And when we bought all this stuff, money was kind of tight. And, buy a new house, and you got to get new furniture because your other furniture's not good enough. It was for me, but my wife thought we needed it. So, you play. And I needed this printer all of a sudden. I wasn't expecting. It was like $8,000. And when I bought the house, they gave us an allowance for a roof because it had some roof damage for some hail. And, I had to put that aside. I had to use that money to buy the printer so I could print folks, but then I reimbursed it later. But but it was print 1 envelope per minute. Then there was the Xerox Cube printer, which I think did maybe 12 a minute, and then the next series did maybe 20 a minute. Then I went to the SPAC, and I ran into a guy, and they had it's a postal machine like the post office uses. It's called Arena Mach 5. And that Arena Mach 5 would print 6,000 envelopes an hour.
Dude, were you like blown away when you saw that?
I couldn't get my money out fast enough. I grew in the office. It literally saved 3 days a week for her. In the spring. 3 hours was saved by this machine. And this is the that allowed me to go in and take the pictures back the next day, and my business blew up because competitors, it was taking them weeks and months to get their stuff.
Yeah.
And when they sent the pictures back, if it's early in the season before we had a lot of Little League, we were delivering pictures the day after picture day or 2 days after picture day. And so that's why we didn't have turnover. We kept our business we had. And we're in a high growth area, one of the largest growth corridors in the United States. So my schools got larger without me having to go sell anymore. And the district built more schools. And guess who they called? Because I was already doing the pictures. So our business blossomed pretty good there. We had, quite a few schools that they didn't buy as good in the older ages, but the elementaries were really good.
Yeah. Still the same.
Yeah. Our business changed a lot. Digital was a breath of fresh air. When you're shooting film, you had to make sure that your f-stop was set correctly. If you're outdoors, it was a nightmare because you had to adjust according to the light changes.
Yeah.
You had to be consistent enough because we owned our own lab, so you want to make sure you didn't overwork the lab.
Of course.
So work out on time.
Yeah.
So you had a Polaroid back on some of the cameras, which would help. You could do a little bit with it.
A little test shot.
But that was usually one. It was so expensive to use that you only did it to make sure in extreme situations. And if you're good enough, you already knew you could do it in your sleep. You could look the light in the sky and say that's 125th and F11. At 100 ISO, and you're good to go. Or I need to move that up to 200 ISO because it's a little darker. And your eyes, you learn to do it. And you also had a light meter you could refer to if you needed to.
Yeah.
But as we went on, indoors, went digital. When the green screen came around, that was fantastic. Now we have a product we can compete against the Mamarazzis and all other people that are trying to weasel into the business, because now it doesn't cost near the money to get into the business as it did back in the day. Cameras are less expensive. When you
barrier to entry, like pretty easy to get in.
Oh yeah. When you had to buy, Mamiya RB67 Pro S, when you had to buy your 120 and 220 backs. And when you bought your film, your 120 film, your 220, when you're paying $350 and $550 for a roll, and on that roll, on the Mamiya, you got 10 shots on a 120 roll, and you got 20 on a 220 roll. But then you had to process it. It was expensive when a kid said, "I think I closed my eyes."
Yeah, you're like, oh.
Yeah, take another one. And all of a sudden, one cheerleader hears that, and now all 15 of them want it. So you've just doubled your cost. It would just be alive. And so the film there.
How quick could you change film back in the day?
Oh, I was quick. Do 120, 220 extremely quick. And also back then too, we had changing bags for our school day cameras.
Yep.
The black bag you zipped in had armholes, and you change your film, and you had to make sure you had the emulsion side the right way. And it was a piece of cake if you're used to doing it, but if you weren't used to it, and every once in a while you'd get brave and you'd go into a closet on the back of a stage where you didn't want to go to the car, get the change bag. So you just grab that roll, go in that closet, and start changing the film. And then somebody would come in the auditorium, and when they did and they turned the light on, guess what? It also turned the light on in the closet. Film, and you're thinking, dear God, how far did it go in? How tight was the film wound? Was it okay? And thank God it was using 46 millimeter, and it burned the edges just enough. But when you put you put the mask on, it would crop out. So we had our issues there.
You said that that rig that you guys bought, it needed like a man to load that thing in the car.
Sure.
So like, how did you do it then?
You reach down with both hands, had handles on each side, good back, and you lift it up like a Tennessee boy and drop it in the back of the car.
Oh,
and if you hurt yourself, you might be like an Arkansas guy. Your family tree may not fork much anymore. Different life. Big we grew up in Arkansas. Dad was in the picture business in Arkansas for years. And I guess that's kind of how I got into it.
Yep.
I remember when he was back in the day when he had the proof pictures, he had some paper that he'd put in a frame, take the negatives, develop the negatives in the darkroom, put it in this frame, take it outside and make what they call sun prints. And the sun would expose the image onto this paper, leave it out there for 10, 15 minutes, whatever, bring it back inside. And then if it's out of the sun, it would not expose anymore. And then you could mark the pictures you wanted, whatever, and then send them with it. They could print the pictures that you chose for the yearbook, things like that.
Wow.
But yeah, that was the early days. And today it's real simple. Just give them a copy of the disc and go.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
when we went green screen, I was talking about earlier, the biggest problem we had when we first started, it was great because we could provide a product nobody else could.
Yeah.
Well, I went down to Jacksonville, Florida, went to the Photo Solutions Market. And they had some great templates and met a lot of good people, and was one of the first ones in the green screen era to have the templates and the designs. And it was incredible. Our sales shot the roof till all of a sudden now anybody can buy them. So any ma or pa can get online and buy them. So we didn't have the competitive edge. So that made it harder. So you have to work a little harder now than you did in the early days with the green screen. But like any green,
I remember when like we knew each other and it was getting into green screen, and I don't know why I remember this story, but like someone was doing green screen, but the color management was like so bad, like it was off.
Yeah.
And you're like, is that someone's face or is that like a raw steak? Because it was like so like.
Oh, well, you know, the thing is, if you learn how to expose an image, it doesn't matter what the background is. Expose the image. You're not trying to expose it for the green or for anything else. And I mean, nowadays, we can shoot an image anywhere, cut it out. Don't even have to mess with the green screen or white screen. And, you know, it's just an extra step. But one thing you learn in this industry for years and years and years, the fewer steps you take, the more money you make.
Exactly. And the less mistakes, the less opportunity for mistake, right?
The fewer hands that touch it, the better off you are. When you got 4 people in the office and you got people calling in your customer service, when you have one person, they may work a little harder, but if you can get by, they know what's going on.
Totally.
You know, I was fortunate. The woman I had did not go on salary. She would have probably made a whole lot more money. But she wanted to go hourly, and she worked overtime. She'd come every morning at 6:30 in the morning, and she'd leave every day 5 o'clock.
Jeez.
And then if we got behind or something happened, she'd come in Saturday and Sunday and work
and help out. Yep.
And she was by far, she was like an owner. I mean, I remember when we first went in the green screen and we had those pads with a pen, you know, where you could, what do you call those little machines where you manipulate is with a pen.
The Wacom tablet.
Yeah. Wacom tablet. She wasn't going to buy one. She had a little one. I said, get the bigger one. Well, that's $160. I'm like, $160 in our industry, you're going to save $16,000 in labor in a year for $160.
Exactly. Yep.
Whatever it takes to make it easier, time is money, you know.
Yep.
But she was very frugal for us, and I mean, we bought our envelopes when we got the proofs talking about before. She found a way on our envelopes. We'd buy them, and when our proofs first started, they were costing 30 to 35 cents a proof.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 90s, when we did a contact roll and glued them to the envelope. A lot of extra work that young people don't understand today. Then you had to stamp the order to match the image. And then today, you know, we simply print the envelope through software, and my proof costs were less than 2 cents per envelope.
Yeah.
And the machine would print them out, and I could print I didn't have to go to a print shop anymore. We used to have a yearbook company in a print shop, did yearbooks from 1949 until just right about 2000. And the reason we shut that down is because you could buy color books for the same price as black and white with the digital presses, and it wasn't worth the time to reinvent.
Yeah,
we get that.
You know, our average tenure for employees was 50 years. A lot of farmers, and their wives, they were able to work around the fields and their crops, and take care of their animals in the winter and the summer, and work. And the school season was fantastic because you shot school pictures in the fall.
Yep.
And then you printed yearbook deadlines in the spring, and so your workforce from a seasonal business turned into a year-round business.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they still had time off for their families and things in the summer. So it was a great time to get into the business and be in the business. But
you had it figured out, eh?
Yeah.
We had figured out as good as somebody could. You know, in our little area, in our niche, we were good. I did Santa Claus pictures in a time where used to I'd go in December, and in the early days I didn't. After paying school commissions and all, it was hard for me to get over the hump until January.
Yeah.
And we had retakes, and retakes didn't make any money. And I did retakes in December. Well, then I said, well, everybody likes Santa Claus, and the mall Santas they were selling a little Polaroid, and Mom having to buy a couple prints and all. It cost her arm and leg. So I started doing Santa Claus pictures the same day as retakes in the schools.
Smart idea. Wow.
Started from November after Thanksgiving through the day before school's out, and created a whole nother entity that extremely profitable, and gave me money at a good time of year. You know, in the early days, when I first started, we got paid twice a year because we went and shot school pictures, and the company had territories, and you bought into the territory, and they managed the money, they managed everything, gave you the cameras, and so if everything went well, you were good. If it didn't go so well, you could come short. And I'll never forget, I went that one year in December. We're going to go skiing, and so I got getting ready to get my check before we leave, and my check's down. And I'm like, whoa, what happened? It's because I'll pay you tomorrow's. I went ahead and printed the pictures and trusted everybody. Well, they didn't all pay.
Yeah.
So you learn to get your money up front.
Yep.
Everybody's your friend, but it's still a business.
Totally.
Because you'd have that money when you first got paid. You were the richest guy in town. And if you didn't manage it well, you could be the poorest guy in town.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and so it makes a huge difference.
So now that you're a great grandfather, are you going to jump back into the Santa role? You could just be the Santa.
I've done that too the last couple of years, and not by choice. We had I wasn't supposed to be working one day. We had one of the family local communities had a get together, and they always went to different people's houses for their meetings.
Yeah.
This was a civic group in Greenville, Texas, and they were doing a wine tasting. So my dad volunteered my house because we were in Greenville. So we set it up really nice. Everybody came up and got to show off the house and all the Christmas decorations and everything, and had the wine tasting. And well, when the event was over, there was wine left, and so we can't let it go bad. So of course I just sat there, and my wife and I drank that wine. And next morning, get a phone call at 5:00. Santa Claus can't make it.
Oh, he got another call. He definitely got another call, right?
Dude, this guy, I love talking to him though. He's got so many epic stories that he's got so much to contribute.
So good. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost poetic to like cutting them off, but but beautiful. What do you say? Do we like keep it going, or we just like?
I'll just tell him to like I'll call him to log. Oh, no, he logged out. He'll probably log back in. Yeah. But so good. Like, you know, when we obviously talk to him at like conventions, he just goes on and on about these awesome stories. Oh,
he's got so many too. I thought I heard everything, but he's just got
just out of the woodwork.
Hey, I'm back,
dude. You dropped us off at a cliffhanger there.
Yeah. No, that was another phone call came through and it cuts it off. I don't know how to stop it. I'm not that technical.
Yeah, you're just too popular, man. So you drank wine all night, 5 a.m.
At 5 a.m. I get this phone call and Santa Claus, and I don't even own the business anymore. But you got to be Santa. You got to be Santa. I'm thinking, well, he had done it for me, so I said, okay. It's only gonna take an hour, max.
Yep.
So we get to the school, and I wear the only suit I had in my possession was one that we used for parades, and it was the real heavy. You could deer hunt it in Alaska and be plenty warm. I had to put this one on because the lightweight suit was being used somewhere else at one of the other schools. And so I put it on. I get to school. They put me in this room. I find out that the principal's not there that day. They have a vice principal's running the show. Instead of sending the kids in at, 20 at a time, like we normally do, she sends them in one at a time. And I'm sitting in front of a heater, and the heater vent's blowing on me. And so for the next 4 hours, I have the rosiest cheeks and the reddest face of any person on the North Continent. A day that you felt just absolutely horrendous, but hey, the pictures came out great. I was rosy and red, and looked like a festive, jolly time.
And still and hung over.
Oh yeah, you could have hung the moon off my ears. It was that. Was that. But when it comes to work, I can say this: I worked for 40 years. I never missed one day being sick.
Epic.
Wow.
I showed up every time. Now I might have felt pretty rough.
Yep.
I might have gone in the parking lot to throw up, but I never, ever didn't show up. And the key thing is, my advice to anybody in the business, always be early, be the first one there, be the last one to leave. Be sure you have your equipment enough for you and backup for yourself. And if you have other workers and they're young folks getting in the business, bring backup for them too.
Amen.
Great advice. Yeah.
And I never lost an account for being unprepared or from having equipment malfunction and the job not getting done. You're always able to find a way to get through it. Plus, nobody wants the embarrassment,
Totally. Yeah. I got a few stories that we were talking about before. We got to talk about your Robert Graham shirts. I feel like you're known for that. Like Tom from Texas with his like awesome shirts.
Amen.
Yeah. Remember those?
Oh yeah.
I was a little disappointed you didn't wear one for this podcast.
Well, I'm at the ranch, man. If I'd have known, I could have. I didn't realize that was going to come up as a subject of topic. But I probably have 25 different shirts. I've had them for years. I've had some of them long, 15 years. And every time you wear them, somebody makes a comment. And I always liked the ones that were kind of loud and kind of different. Yeah. And I remember ZZ, the time when he made the comment. We were in Vegas on top of the building. We took a picture with that shirt on and the skylights behind. And, he said, made us look like movie stars, And it was really, it's just a good time when you're out and you see people and you feel good, you want to dress good, and you want people to remember you for good things. And some people, I don't know, some people like to be noticed, some don't. I wore a suit and tie for the first 15 years of my photography business. Every time, so people would walk in, they'd think I was a school board person or something. Why is a photographer wearing coat and tie.
Yeah.
Well, that's a picture guy. Oh, I need to see him. I need to have some pictures made. Or does he do weddings? And I did that until I got to North Lamar and to Everett Elementary School. And in August, and I was shooting pictures in the gym. And I ended up having heat stroke because there was no air conditioning in the gym. So after that, I went to a logoed shirt. And so life was good after.
Yeah, we love the Robert Grahams. Yeah, they were like the flashy collar, like the cuffs were like different.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
They made good.
What one of the first times that we met you obviously was at the APSP meetings, and you went up and you did a presentation, and then you sat down, and then they're like, anyone have any questions for Tom? And I remember our dad's like, did anyone even understand what the hell that guy just said? He did this like 20-minute like presentation, and it's like my dad just roasted you for it.
He roasted because some of us talk a lot, some talk slow with a drawl.
Yeah.
The way I figured, when I grew up, I was a twin, and I came from a household, and when there wasn't a lot of food on the table, but when it was there, you ate it quickly, so you got enough for you. And when I was working, when I was by myself, I had to get up, get there, get the job done, and get to another job after that original job, and sometimes even have a third job that afternoon.
Crazy.
And before cell phones, it was very difficult. Once cell phones came in, I was able to call and say, hey.
Yep, going to be a little late, or, change some stuff around.
Call them out right now and let them get their uniforms on. I'll be there for basketball pictures. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Yep. So I didn't have to get to school and wait 30 minutes for them to get out there and be rushed, to get them done.
Yep.
So there was elasticity in the schedule.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And so it was a good thing. But see, back in the day, we had to have literally a pad with the customers and the names and the school names and contact people. And the best thing that ever happened when they came up with a BlackBerry, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven, because you could keep all that data and update it. How incredible was that? Things that young people today grew up with, but in our day, it was, you don't want to go into school and send the pictures to the wrong secretary or the wrong name, or if they had a change in personnel. Worst thing you can do is send your school picture envelopes to a yearbook advisor that was fired the year before, and all the new stuff goes to them, and they don't pass it out.
Oh yeah,
because sitting in a box under the desk.
So do you keep dropping the call because you're still on that BlackBerry, or did you actually upgrade that thing? Or are you running that for 50 years too?
I'm on an iPhone 15 now, so
there you go. There you go. Who's this modern guy now, hey?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Another good one was we were out at a bar one night. I think we were saying San Antonio, and T. I don't think you were there. This was like really early on, and Tom's like, how good are your glasses? And I'm like, I think they're good. And he's just like, I guarantee I got better eyes than you. And then he showed me like a Budweiser bottle, and he's just like, read what it says on there. And of course, like, we're in a bar, the lighting's not good. I'm like, I can't read it. And he like, what did you say, Tom?
This is the famous Budweiser beer. We know no brand produced by any other brewer, which costs so much brew and age. Our exclusive Beechwood aging process produces a taste, a smoothness, and drinkability you'll find at no other beer at any price. And it's on every can, every bottle. My best friend in elementary school, his dad owned the Golden Eagle distributorship for Budweiser in Pulaski County, Little Rock, Arkansas. And then, so in college, guess what? We drank Budweiser beer. And,
and so he memorized the whole thing, trying to like dupe me that like he could read it. He's like, whoa, your glasses, how can you not read that?
Well,
so random, so good.
I went to school at Texas Tech, and there wasn't a lot to do out there sometimes but drink beer and throw rocks, amongst a couple other things, but we're not going to mention that. And and so, it was a good existence, but one thing about it, if you get all that out of your system, then when you do work, you can be productive.
Totally.
It's all there, and there's nothing that you're trying to outdo because you've already done it. So
you bet.
Your
good
work
advice
is
again.
good. You don't want to work too much, but you don't want to work too little. Always remember your friends, and always remember that, everybody puts their pants on the same way. So nobody's better than anybody else.
Yeah.
You want to be on everybody's level. Some of the best people that I ever worked with were the custodians at the school.
Yep.
They got me in on times where the principal wasn't going to let me in the school on a weekend to shoot Little League. I didn't have to rent the building because the custodian would open it for me, clean it.
The keys, yep.
Yeah, and I was able to accomplish so much more and become really good friends with quite a few. And so you don't ever forget, even from a town like Wolf City, Texas, little country town, some of the schools I had as few as 35 kids and as big as 1,800. You treat them all the same. I did not one of them got more attention than the other, because the superintendent from that 35 kid school, he got moved up to another school.
Exactly.
And when they traveled, they brought me with them. And so it was, like I said, our business was very successful for a lot of years because of friends, because of people, because of groups like the APSP, like SPAC, that give you guidance when you need information, puts you in touch with other people that have experience. And SPAC is a definite must go to for anybody, whether they're starting out or if they're seasoned, because you never continue to keep learning. You always learn something, even after 40 years.
Always something. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. And who would have known, right? Like this little city, in Texas, 1929, just like how much like invention and legacy came out of there, right? And almost 100 years later, right?
Sure.
We're still talking about it.
Yeah, and the school picture business is still alive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of businesses don't survive now.
Exactly.
Of course, a lot of competition. It has adapted and changed a little bit on your high school level and things. When I first started sports, you'd sell 100%. Now sometimes you only sell 20%, 30%, depending on the sport. Football gets more. Soccer will get a little more, but like your basketball and your track, it's not what it used to be.
Yeah.
And,
has hockey made it down to Texas yet?
Well, we won the Stanley Cup years ago, of course, but not in the school so much. No.
We're still looking for ours up here. We haven't even won one yet. So
no.
yeah, you're definitely ahead of us. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's been a great business for me. It was great. I couldn't think of anything else. There were days when the money was so good, it was like, man, it was like selling drugs on the street. It was incredible. When you had a homecoming line that was 150 yards long, and they're there in line for 4 hours, and they're all throwing $25 and $30 at you.
Crazy, right? The prom days, right? Yeah.
And that's back 25 years ago. And today proms, they're pretty much non-existent in our area. And that made more money than the school profit of school pictures,
Totally. Yeah.
But it's all things told. Just invest and reinvest back into the company. I never paid myself last. I made sure everybody else got paid, rolled everything else back into the company, and then that way you can retire when you're 58. Life's good.
There you go. Yeah, I was gonna say. So you've been retired a couple of years. You've definitely worked for it. Like hearing the story is awesome.
Oh yeah. I'll be on Medicare in 6 months, so life will be in.
Well, Tom, we like super appreciate you coming on. What a fun hour. Yeah. TJ was saying when you got cut off there, like, man, we didn't know about all these stories. We thought we heard them all.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're gold, my buddy.
There's probably a lot more. Some of them probably need to stay within a room, but you know what? Yeah, you guys have always been great. John, he was one of the first when I got into the digital world. John Rack, and he helped me tremendously. Michael, TJ, have always been there.
Awesome.
And when you have legends that you work with, it makes my job easier. You guys were always on top of your game. And if anything was happening, you're the go-to guys because you've already been exposed to it and you know how it works. And
Yeah,
you make,
we'll appreciate that.
Yeah, what a compliment from you. Thank you.
Yeah.
what an asset to our business you guys
Thanks,
are.
buddy.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Well,
bet.
you were saying you're not going to be able to make SPAC this year, even though you're retired, but maybe the year after, we'd love to have you come out just to hang out. The good thing is you don't need to worry about listening in class anymore, so you're good. Yeah,
I'll come out next year. This January, we'll be in Palm Springs for a week, and then we're flying from there to Fort Lauderdale, going on a country music cruise. So we'll be
there. You go.
We'll be listening to a lot of good music, having a good time, and it happens to fall through SPAC. But
you earned it, man.
But
you
next
definitely
year,
earned it.
Yeah, next year, I'll do my best to come see you guys.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you, Tom. Thanks so much for your time and for coming out and stealing some time from the ranch there.
Appreciate you.
Friends. All right. I appreciate you guys, and y'all have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tom. Okay. Thanks, Pete.